Good afternoon, YouTube. It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon here in the UK, and I'm looking forward to the boxing tonight as ever. Some big fights tonight. The return of George Groves versus Andrea De Luisa. Some decent undercard action, and of course, Kovalev versus John Pascal. You know, during this live show, I'm keen to discuss all of those fights and more. You know, as with always, we don't take these things too rigidly here on the channel, you know, open to discussing new topics, taking other people's questions, etc., etc. Now, before I get too emotionally involved in this stream, let me just double check, make 100% sure that we are running live. I can see we are running live, which is good. If you are in the room, please say hello. Let me know that you're watching. Always good to know that it's reaching you guys wherever you are. Terence Talbot is long awaiting, and Angela says okay. So it looks like we're good to go here. So hope everyone's having a good weekend so far. Hope everyone's looking forward to the fights tonight. I'm trying to get these Saturday live shows going more regularly. I think this is the 3rd week in a row that we've had one of these lunchtime Saturday slots. And I guess the difference here between this and some of the other boxing shows out there is you're able to call in live to this one by adding me on Skype. My Skype details should be in the title of this program, but if it's not, very simply boxing.gossip. And I'm keen to open up to Skype callers. Anyone and everyone can walk in, call in, even not walk in. That would be a bit modern, and yeah, we can have a bit of a back and forth as to the fights tonight, etc. So I'm gonna get my Skype up and running now. I've had a few people add me on Skype in the run up to this show, having advertised it on Facebook and Twitter, so hopefully we'll get some people calling in. If we don't, you're just stuck with me ranting at the screen discussing boxing, which to be honest is 99% of what goes on the channel anyway. But hopefully we'll get a bit of interaction, which will make it more interesting for everyone involved. This week on the channel, it's been a good week for myself. I was able to interview Ian John Lewis. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. I did about half an hour with Ian discussing his boxing career, his refereeing career, and just his sort of life in general, really. I had the pleasure of speaking to Ian for a long time off camera as well as on camera, and legitimately a proper gentleman and one of the nice guys of the sport, you know. And he's someone I've seen, you know, since I did that video. I was surprised how many people came out and gave him stick, you know. Look, referee is obviously a tough job, but you know, whatever you think of him professionally, genuinely a top guy, and that was a good experience for me. And I'm looking to do several more interviews. Actually, I've got 2 or 3 interviews lined up for next week, hopefully. You know, these things have a habit of not happening, but I've got let's just say I've got a top 20 welterweight, and let's say I've got a leading boxing commentator who have suggested that they will make themselves available to come on the channel and speak to me next week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Just wow, hello from New Zealand. Hello mate, are you doing well? God, it's got to be 2 in the morning over there, isn't it? So it's a late night for you. And Julie says hello. So thanks to everyone for joining and for getting involved. So I'll launch straight in. As I say, anyone's welcome to call in on Skype and, you know, join in at any time. I'm not going to keep it too rigid, as I say, but I'm going to start with the weigh-ins for yesterday. And there were 2 things I really wanted to mention specific to the weigh-ins of the George Groves card, and I'm going to start with the main event of the evening, actually, which was George Groves versus Andrea De Luisa. Now, George Groves, I've always said, is very tight at the weight. His problems at the weight, for me, could potentially be linked to questionable punch resistance and could potentially be linked to questionable stamina. You know, when somebody is tight at a weight, I find that those are the things that can be affected. You know, it's logical. If you're cutting a lot of weight, your punch resistance, your stamina, these things can be affected. So yeah, for me, I've always had concerns over George Groves at 168. I know he walks around a lot bigger than that. He is clearly a big, strong guy at the weight, and I do think that whilst I'm not saying 175 pound would be a bed of roses for him, you know, I know there's some killers at that weight. I know it's ultra competitive, but I do think he may be a more natural fighter at 175 than 168. His tendency to fade in fights and lack stamina could be linked for me. And I think it's very, very important to note that this fight versus Andre De Luisa is at a catch weight of 172 pounds. And I didn't know that, you know, maybe I just missed out the announcement there, but I don't think that's a publicised fact. But that is a real important factor in this fight. Now, to be honest, I think George Groves beats Andre De Luisa every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. You know, I don't necessarily think this is going to be a tight fight. And I think the weight cutting is more of an issue in a very, very tight fight, you know, where we maybe go 10, 11, 12 rounds and both guys are taking hits. It's probably not going to be as relevant in a fight like this because George Groves is going to be so superior to De Luisa. But do note that this fight is not at 168 pounds, it's at 172 pounds. And I think that is a near perfect fighting weight for George Groves. You know, I'm not saying he should necessarily be fighting the Kovalevs of this world who are huge punchers and walking around well into the cruiserweight division, etc. But I do think if there was a 172 pound division, it would suit Groves better. And don't be surprised if he looks, people were saying how good he looked at the weigh-in. You know, I got a tweet yesterday saying, did you see the weigh-in? George Groves looks so good. And for me, the reason he looks so good is because he wasn't having to take off that extra 3 pounds, that extra 4 pounds, you know. And when you're tight at the weight, it's those last pounds that really can be the absolute killer. So I thought that was a really, really, really relevant fact. And as I say, perhaps less relevant for this specific fight, but if George Groves looks very good tonight, factor that into your consideration. Factor in the fact that normally he's having to cut 3 or 4 extra pounds. And I think that's a relevant fact. Now, John Ryder versus Sergei Comiskey. People who follow the channel will know that I'm picking Comiskey on this one. I'm not overly impressed with John Ryder. John Ryder did look in good shape, but something to note is that this fight's been made at the 160 pound limit. And I was actually more confident, having seen that Comiskey can cause the upset here. I thought Comiskey, I know he's in his 40s now, he looked in superb shape at the weigh-in, looked really ready to go, looked in excellent shape for my money. And one thing I'd say about Comiskey is he's been stepping up and fighting guys at the super middleweight class. He's been fighting well above 160 pounds. You know, he fought Frank Buglioni, for example, who's a very big super middleweight. And yeah, he was able to cause the upset on that night. But I think at 160, he's going to be much stronger. I think he's a bigger guy than John Ryder. He looked taller. He looked stronger for me at the weigh-in. And I think, for me, the fact that this has been made at 160 is going to play into Comiskey's hands. And I know that's Ryder's natural weight class anyway. I'm not saying it's going to necessarily put Ryder out of joint, but I'm saying that Comiskey's, a lot of his recent fights have been actually over the 160 pound limit. He's had to fight at catch weights. You know, he's fought Stieglitz, he's fought Buglioni. These are much bigger guys than John Ryder. They really hit harder than John Ryder. You know, Buglioni hits twice as hard as John Ryder. Stieglitz hits twice as hard as John Ryder. I don't think John Ryder is going to be able to hurt Comiskey. I don't see him as a power puncher. Comiskey's really, really durable, and he comes into his own in sort of tough scraps. And I don't see John. I think John Ryder's going to get found out tonight. I really do. I thought Comiskey looked excellent at the weigh-in. I mean, the fact that Comiskey's in his 40s and has loads of losses is a bit of a smokescreen. You know, Ryder, he's failed when he stepped up to Nick Blackwell level. He's failed when he stepped up to Billy Joe Saunders level. Let's not forget that Comiskey drew with Nick Blackwell. Let's not forget that Comiskey knocked out Adam Etches, knocked out Buglioni. Let's not forget that Comiskey almost upset Martin Murray even. You know, Comiskey is a decent fighter, a really decent fighter. He's at least Nick Blackwell level, at least. And at 160 pounds, he's going to be even more effective than when he's been facing the bigger guys like Stieglitz and Buglioni. You know, for me, this is an upset waiting to happen. It really is. Having said that, credit to John Ryder for taking the fight. Credit to Eddie Hearn for taking the fight. What we didn't want to see is sort of those painful 8-rounders on undercards. You know, at least this is a real move in the right direction. And if John Ryder is to be successful, he's going to be right back in the mix. But I'll be very impressed if John Ryder beats Comiskey. I know he's a long odds-on favourite, but for me, the pricing is mad in this. John Ryder, I see him as a scrappy kind of fighter. I don't see him having clean work. I don't see him having too much punching power. And I think he can be outboxed. And I think he's going to struggle tonight for my money. John Wayne Hibbert, Tommy Martin, good fight. 50-50 fight for me. Tommy Martin is favoured too much by the bookies for my money in this fight. I'm picking Tommy Martin to win. I just think he's got a higher upside, bit slicker, a bit more skilled. But John Wayne Hibbert, much more experienced, been in much bigger fights, looks more physically strong to me. Could be a real scrap. I'm looking forward to that one as well. I've got about 18-20 people watching, between 18 and 20 it's saying. So we're rocking and rolling here. Jet 17, hope we can have a call again. Jet, absolutely. I'm happy to take calls whenever. So if you're watching this, call in right away, mate. Jacob, hello, Jacob. Oscar's a John Ryder fan, disagrees with me. Hello, Oscar. Rough Master Kritschko is going to be big game hunting on DeGale. I completely agree. Comiskey is, I think Comiskey should be a favourite in this fight. I really do. And I think he's something like 13-8 against, you know. He's a real fit guy as well, Comiskey. Don't forget he went 12 rounds last time out. John Ryder's a guy for me who could struggle as we go down to the later rounds here. You know, he gassed badly against Nick Blackwell, and for me, I think Comiskey, we know to trust him. He's still there. He's still going to have his punch resistance. He's still going to be fighting and throwing as we get towards the later rounds. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It wouldn't surprise me, actually, if that's the fight of the night. Because, as I say, I don't see the main event as competitive. You know, I watched that Andre De Luisa versus Bute fight. De Luisa, he's a pretty ABC boxer. Doesn't do a lot wrong. Doesn't do a lot exceptionally. Fights long, you know. But for me, we'll have a difficulty judging George Groves' range. Often he will throw a punch which comes up a bit short because he can't deal with the movement of an elite fighter. This leads him to become a bit inaccurate. His guard is also, it's very easy to hit through his guard. Very easy to hit through his guard. You know, his guard is up like this. You can easily stick a jab through it. There's other things, you know, his punch resistance that's very questionable. Getting stopped by Christopher Brass, who's not a good puncher. Getting stopped in 4 by Bute. I really think George Groves, especially George Groves at 172 pounds at this catch weight, I really think George Groves is going to cut through him and look good doing it, actually. Really, really good. Yeah, I think he is. He's going to have a lot of fun with Andre De Luisa, and I don't think he's going to look bad in this fight, like he looked against Dennis Douglin and like he looked against Robrasse. I think his movement, his power, his explosiveness. You know, we're all going to. The style's just going to work out very, very nicely for George Groves, and I think he'll look impressive. Against the type of fighter back at 168, it could be a different story, though. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Good to have George Groves back. I've been critical of him this week, but regardless, he adds some sort of colour to the boxing scene, and he's an entertaining character. Tivertap says, good day. Thanks for joining, Tivertap. Astrak Beats says, hi, I've just joined you, mate. Thanks for joining in. Oscar Perry, do you mind if I ask what your day job is? I don't want to give away what my day job is because it's very, very different to this. But what I will tell you is it's office job, 9 to 5, certain tie, and probably not the most entertaining. Rough Muff says, brave for Pascal tonight. Yeah, we're going to come on to that in a minute. Yusuf, who wins, DeGale or Groves for the rematch? It's got to be DeGale. You know, Groves has looked terrible recently, hasn't he? Terrible, whereas DeGale's putting in career best performances. Jacob says, Groves or De Luisa under or over 6 rounds? I'm going under, Jacob. You know, Bute isn't the biggest puncher in the world. Robrasse certainly isn't the puncher in the world, biggest puncher in the world. These guys could stop him. You know, this guy's defensively open. George Groves is going to be really strong at this catch weight, really strong. He's not had to take off that last 3 or 4 rounds. So I think he's going to get him out of there. Don't be surprised if this is 2 rounds, 3 rounds. I'd be betting under 6 rounds personally. As you'll know if you watch this channel regularly, I'm routinely wrong, so don't stick your mortgage on it. But yeah, that's my thought process. Jamie's joining. Afternoon, Tom. Missed last week because I was at work, so I wasn't missing this one. Thanks very much, Jamie. Appreciate you tuning in. And guys, very, very keen to be taking Skype callers in this. So anyone who wants to join in, add me on Skype, boxing.gossip. Anyone who's already on my Skype, if you've called in before or if you just added me on Skype previously, don't hesitate to call in. It would be really, really good to get you on the show so that any of the listeners can get a real perspective of a broader opinions than just myself. Cyril says, do you give DeGale a chance against GGG? I'll make DeGale a favourite against GGG, and I'll tell you why. Golovkin's a great fighter, but he's a very small middleweight, You know, you look at him next to Canelo in those sparring photos. He was small next to Canelo. Golovkin is not a 168-pound fighter at all. He's a 154 to 160-pound fighter. DeGale is a strong super middleweight. You know, look what happened when Arthur Abraham moved up in weight class. Suddenly, the huge punching power decreased. Hurting guys at 160 doesn't directly correspond to hurting guys at 168. And Carl Frost was actually right. He is too big and too strong for Triple G. That's not hating on Triple G, but Triple G is a middleweight, and we have weight classes in the sport for a reason. Abstract Beats, do you think Canelo is going to grow up here and admit he's big enough to fight Triple G? I'd like to see the fight. I don't think Golden Boy want the fight after what happened to David Lemieux, to be honest. You know, that they're a company who's solely built around Canelo at present. He's the big name. He's the big superstar, isn't he? If he were to get destroyed or battered by Triple G, that's really going to affect his credibility and marketability going forward. So, yeah, I think there'll be pressure on him to stay clear of that fight. But I don't think Canelo himself is the problem. You know, he's taken on all comers in his career. He's got a very impressive resume, and he's not scared. He's a warrior. Guys, I've got a few people watching now and more people joining in. Do me a favour if you wouldn't mind. If you're watching this video live, can you please click the thumbs up button if you're enjoying it? That would help me out, try and get me a few likes and spread the word of the channel a bit. Jet, any specific topics to discuss on the call? To be honest, Jet, I don't really like to keep these things too rigid. Certainly be interested in discussing the weekend's fights. I'd certainly be interested in discussing George Groves, Ryder, Comiskey, Wayne Hibbert, Martin. Be very interested to discuss Kovalev versus Pascal. But yeah, I'd be very, very, very open to discussing other topics as well. YouTube, good name. Surprised Frankie Gavin wasn't part of your special mentions for top 10 welterweights. Sadly, he's some way away from that at present. And I have Jet calling in, so just bear with me for 1 minute. We'll get Jet on. Hi, Jet. How you doing?
Hi, mate.
You good?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. You?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well, very well. Looking forward to the fights tonight.
Yeah, good card by match, actually, to be fair.
Do you know what? It's turned into a really decent one, hasn't it? Like, the main event ain't that great, but the undercard looks pretty smart now.
Yeah, two really 50-50 toss-up matches. So, and kudos to Eddie Hearn for those people that slate him on the IFL interviews and whatnot. Pretty decent, to be fair. Martin, that's a tough fight. Martin versus Hibbert, quite a tough fight. I mean, I don't know. I can see Martin winning that fight, but he's not a big puncher. He got dropped last time, I think, or 2 fights ago. He got dropped in his fight, came back and stopped the guy. He says he's a fitness fanatic, so I don't know how he's going to go to 12 rounds, but depends. Comiskey Ryder is a really, really good fight. Really good fight. Don't know how that will go, though. And Groves will knock him out anyway. Groves 6 rounds. If Bute can knock him out in 4, I think Groves can do it in 2 or 3, to be honest.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Have you had a chance to see much of this opponent, DeLuisa?
I saw him on Bute's comeback fight in Montreal. I think it was the Bell Center. And he actually stunned Bute once, but then again, Bute is a massive super middleweight. He's huge. He's just as George Groves is, his frame and everything. So like I'm not surprised he was quite tired away. Although Butte came back, did really well against DeGale. So I don't see this guy giving George Groves any problems. I think Groves needs to kind of respect the advice that McGuigan's going to give him and say. Johnny Nelson actually put it on Sky Sports, said he should trust his trainer and say if Shane says jump, and he should say how high.
Yeah.
I think he needs that because he hasn't had that since the Adam Booth fight, and he employed Booth's tactics in the first Fox fight. So it depends. I don't know what Shane's going to do with him differently. He does look in good shape, to be fair. In the Baddock Jack fight, he looked like an absolute zombie at the weigh. So and this one, he does look, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, a bit more, but he does look a bit better.
Yeah, he looked in good nick, I think. Yeah.
I think the thing is, I think with the weight issues now, people, I think you can always get a nutritionist or someone like that. You can always get someone to bring your weight down. I know he does weigh closer to the cruiserweight limit. He probably does because he's a massive guy.
Yeah.
He's a thick frame, but I think he could get down with the right sort of training and the right sort of diet. But he needs to train right. I think he's taken control of his training. He's promoted the fights now. He's turned into a promoter rather than a boxer. He needs to concentrate on the fights, not the promoting side of the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he spent a lot of time with David Haye, didn't he? And he wanted to be this kind, Haymaker Productions. He wanted to start managing fighters, and he wanted to, take control. And I think he's kind of taken his eye off the ball, actually, in terms of the boxing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's affected his performances. Obviously, I don't think the Brass fight was as bad as people make it out to be fair.
Yeah.
The Dublin fight was absolutely shocking. It was just horrendous. I don't know what was going on in that fight. And then obviously the Battle Jack fight, like the first round set the tone, really, to be fair. So it's tough. I mean, could he take that 4 pounds off without getting weight drained? I don't know. He looked in good shape, so we know McGuigan's getting themselves in good, getting the fighters in good shape. So David Haye looked in good shape when he was come back. Okay, Carl Frampton in his last fight, he went to America and had the little topsy-turvy against Gonzalez Jr. But generally, on the whole, they do have a good thing about fitness, Shane McGuigan. So hopefully it works out well for him. But yeah. Kovalev's also fighting tonight, isn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what? I rewatched the first fight, and I was trying to find a way. How can Pascal win this fight? And I know it sounds terrible, but I can't see him winning it in any way. To be honest, I think it's too one-sided. This.
Yeah, I saw your video a couple of days ago about Pascal and Kovalev. Kovalev he's on another planet to the light heavyweights at the moment. I mean,
yeah.
You look at the champions. Stevenson's what, 39 now, I think.
Yeah.
As he said about David Haye, the style doesn't age very well, and Stevenson's style doesn't age very well because he relies a lot on speed and the 1-2, and then get in and out of range. So he likes the peekaboo style. Whereas he's 39 now, he's reaching his 40s. He's not invincible like a Bernard Hopkins or someone like that. So he's really beatable. I think Kovalev will just manhandle him. I think he'll knock him out in 8-9 rounds, maybe. And Stevenson's punch resistance is quite questionable. So
that's it, isn't it? He's not a hard fighter to work out, Stevenson. He's only got one punch. His punch resistance is very questionable compared to Kovalev's, isn't it?
Yeah. He, I think, who was it? He got knocked down by
Fonfara.
There was one fight where it was against Beaker on PVC, or it was another fight before that. I think maybe to Boris Cloud or someone. He just done the same thing over and over again. It was like no jab, 1-2, no jab, 1-2, and the guy was just struggling. And I was just like, but okay, yeah, he's maybe fast, but you know, if he's doing the same thing over and over again, it's not like he's got a variety of different punches. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's not hard to figure him out. I think Kovalev would destroy him.
Yeah, I always thought Bernard Hopkins would beat Stevenson if they'd ever fought,
Yeah, I think he could beat him. The only problem is if Hopkins fights him at 175, everyone will say, "Oh, go and try and unify with Kovalev and try."
Yeah.
So it's a lose-lose for the alien there. To be fair,
yeah.
I think he could beat some of the super middleweight champions. I think he'd probably beat Baddock Jack. give him a good chance against Jack. I give him a good chance against Abraham. So that's just, I think that's just how it goes. I think sometimes when you're that age, obviously you need to manage yourself properly. So
absolutely,
keep yourself in good enough shape, I guess.
Who would you pick in Kovalev versus Ward at 175? Because that's the fight I just can't work out.
Oh, tough, very, very tough fight. I think a lot of people say Ward, but the inactivity, I think he's fighting Sullivan Barrera next.
Yeah, I think so.
Sanchez fight. I
Yeah.
think he's fighting him next.
Yeah.
I think must be a big puncher, a Cuban guy.
Cuban amateur, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so he knocked out Karamura in his last fight, 5 or 7 rounds or something like that. I haven't got a boxer in front of me, unfortunately. Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty durable. So he seems like he packs a punch. If Ward can get past him, which I assume he could. It depends. I just think Kovalev can hurt you. I just think at any moment Kovalev could hurt you. I don't think Ward has that sort of power. He's very, very, very slick. But I can see Kovalev wearing him down the stretch, but not stopping him. He can just wear him down the stretch. The extra weight, I think he's a natural light heavyweight. He's not like, cutting a lot of weight. He's not putting on a lot of weight. I think Kovalev could win that. It would be a really, really tight one, a really 51-49 sort of fight, give or take who you like, what kind of style you like, what the judges like. So it's a very tough sort of fight to judge, I think. I go with Kovalev. I'd be inclined to go with Kovalev, just maybe 115, 113, something like that.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Mate, I've spent, I sound so sad saying this, I've spent hours trying to work this one out. I keep changing my mind. I think one thing that's clear, right, is that Ward isn't going to knock Kovalev out, whereas Kovalev has the chance to win on points and win by knockout. So, that's an advantage to Kovalev. The thing is, the Ward's kind of style, I almost view Ward in like a similar sense to Bernard Hopkins. Ward's the kind of guy who can get up close, spoil a fight, take your game away from you, rough you up on the inside. I'm just not 100% sure that style is going to work against Kovalev. Bernard Hopkins is, the master of that, and he barely won a round against Kovalev. I look at the way Ward had success against a guy like Carl Frotz. I just don't see that game working against Kovalev. I think Kovalev is just so strong, so much bigger, punches so much harder. It's a real tough one. But having said that, I've never seen Andre Ward in a fight where Andre Ward, I know there was the Darnell Boone fight, wasn't there? But apart from that, like for me, he's looked almost unbeatable, Ward, when he's been fighting recently. So the honest answer is I don't really know. I guess the sensible money is probably on Kovalev, but for me, there is just a little bit of invincibility about Andre Ward, and I can't really make a clean decision on it, to be honest.
There's Beterbiev as well at 175, but there's no one else really. There's no one else like coming up.
Yeah, see, I don't rate Beterbiev. I think I'm not so big on him. I think he cuts far too much weight for 175.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
He got dropped by like someone, a real light puncher, didn't he, recently as well? Jeff Page Jr., who had like 3 KOs or something like that on his record. I don't know how many KOs he had, but he got dropped by him. He cuts too much weight, and the other problem is he's one of these guys. He's a bit like a Tony Bellew. He's actually too small for cruiserweight, but too big for light heavyweight. The one I actually do quite like, and he's a very unfashionable fighter, but I really like Elida Alvarez.
Latin American dude.
Yeah, he's Colombian, I think. He looks quite decent to me, actually.
I think didn't he face Chilemba?
Chilemba, yeah.
I think Chilemba won that fight though, as in Alvarez got the decision.
Right.
It seems like Chilemba actually won the fight, and it seemed like he got rocked. A lot of people say he got rocked.
Right. I did watch that fight. I can't remember it off the top of my head, to be honest. I watched. I think I watched Chilemba on a Martin Murray undercard, perhaps, against a South African fighter, if I remember. And I thought he looked really. What was that? Sorry. Yeah, it could have been Tommy Ustazen. Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been. But it was. I quite like the look of him, but he probably isn't in the same class as Kovalev or an Andre Ward. I've got a comment here as we're talking saying Sullivan Barrero could really spoil the Ward Kovalev party. Do you think Barrero's got any chance?
He's good. He's not like exceptional, if you know what I mean. He's a solid fighter. I think in his last fight against Murat's supposed to be quite durable. You know, he hangs around quite a bit. I think he could potentially stun Ward a few times, but it depends on if he can jump on him and if he has the capabilities of taking him out. I know he's with Abel Sanchez, and Sanchez likes his fighters to go forward, use the jab, put the pressure on. He's basically a better modern version of and a less Hollywood version of Freddie Roach, I'd say.
Yeah.
And to hype up his fighters, he's always talking about GGG, etc. But I think, yeah, he definitely could. But I favour Ward in that fight. I'd say 60-40 Ward. I think Ward could smother a lot of Barrera's work and come back with his own. Ward's got an elite inside game.
Yeah. Less, hasn't there?
Yeah.
So
the channel's gone down for a second. It's not showing.
Oh, has it?
It's back.
Are we back? Oh dear.
Hello?
Yeah. You still here, Jack? Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Last week I asked you about the lightweights. I know we're going from light heavy to lightweight. I asked what your opinion was on the best lightweight if you've got if you had a chance to have a look, because Bartholomew recently won the IBF title of Shapakov.
Yeah.
Actually, he's quite big for the weight. Barroso obviously knocked out Mitchell. He looked pretty, damn good. Flanagan's just pulled out of his fight against Derry Matthews with tendonitis. He's got a month left, but he's been looking devastating. Obviously, you have Linares, Crawler. How do you even think Luke Campbell's going to come back in his comeback fight in March?
Yeah, Luke Campbell is a pretty good fighter. I think he really does have potential to be a world champion. But the division's become quite stacked all of a sudden, hasn't it? Terry Flanagan looks like a truly elite fighter. Barroso looks like a truly elite fighter. And then you've also got Linares, who's, I guess, like the sort of elder statesman of the division. And then you've got, as you say, names like Crawler, Bartholomew, who aren't like a million miles off either. So it's become a real tough division. And I think Luke Campbell, honestly, I was at the weigh-in for that fight. I'm convinced Luke Campbell lost that fight due to the weight. He was having all sorts of check weigh-ins. And I spoke to him after he weighed in for that fight. And he was like, honestly, he was standing there with a big bottle of water, gasping. I just think he drained himself to such a terrible extent, and then had gone into the toughest fight of his life against a real strong, big, experienced lightweight. And I think he just got found out. I know he's got a lot of stuff going outside the ring. He's obviously got some pretty tragic family circumstances going on at the minute, and he's had to take time away from the sport. And I just think that for someone like him, he's either going to have to get his weight properly in check, or he's going to have to go down to, or he's going to have to move up to light welterweight, because he's got a frame for it, hasn't
he? Yeah, he's quite big at the weight, really big at the weight. I saw the weigh in, and I remember you talking about it in one of your videos, and you said Luke Campbell was really, really tight at the weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would assume. I think Eddie Hearn is trying to push him really quick now because he knows he's having weight issues. So I think he's trying to get him a world title shot at lightweight, see how he can do there. If not, move up and then see what he can do at light welterweight. I mean, the champions at light welter are quite strong as well. Crawford, Postol, Broner, and then you have the Troyanovsky. I think he's the most beatable. But yeah. What do you think of Kevin Mitchell? He's fighting for the European title against Edis Tatley. Tatley's only lost once to Abreu, and he's current European champion, although he only has about 8 knockouts or something like that on his record. What do you think about that fight? It's in Finland.
Yeah, I don't like it, to be honest. I think Kevin Mitchell has basically gone straight from a heavy defeat straight into a training camp. And I think he could have done with 3 or 4 months off, and had a more sort of structured comeback route. You know, the lightweight division domestically is so stacked. You know, you got Ricky Burns, Tommy Coyle, Luke Campbell. There's all these sort of mega fights for him that he could have been built up to so nicely if he had 3 or 4 months off, 1 or 2 comeback fights. You know, by late summer, autumn, he could have had, you know, Burns Mitchell too, Mitchell Coyle, you know, even Mitchell Campbell. You know, there are these big fights. I think he's come back too soon. I don't know too much about his opponent. As you say, he's not the biggest puncher in the world, and Kevin Mitchell's problem has always been punch resistance for me. So yeah, Kevin Mitchell's a class slick boxer on his day. He may just have too much class, too much skill for this guy, and be European champion. But for me, if you look at risk reward factor, what is the reward for winning this fight really? Does a fighter like Kevin Mitchell really need that Euro belt? It's not going to be a massive payday. I just don't like the risk factor here. You know, it's too soon for me. What about yourself?
Tough fight. I mean, the guy then lost to Abril, who was a WBA champion for quite a while, slick Cuban. So it could be 50-50. Apparently the Sauerland brothers were on IFL and they were saying 50-50 fight. There was someone else who was saying if Kevin Mitchell, the best Kevin Mitchell turns up, he'll win. And Mitchell himself said it'll be a tough fight, but he's winning the Euro belt as a stepping stone, basically. He wants to get, if he wins the belt, he'll obviously get highly ranked in all the sanctioning bodies. So that's why he's predominantly trying to win it. That's his main reasoning. Although I think it is, as you said, it's a very quick turnaround from the Barroso defeat. And the Barroso defeat wasn't a points defeat or anything. It was a heavy. He got knocked down by a jab. Let's be honest. So you know his punch resistance has always been, you know, European level at best. There's never been world level punch resistance. Let's be honest. I mean Linares. Okay, he's taking the punches from Linares. Linares is not the heaviest of punches, but you know he's got good power. He knocked him down, but Barroso looks like he's a real heavy-handed operator at lightweight. So I think he just ran into someone who thinks, can he win a world title again? Tough, very tough. I think he's had three world title shots. One of them was an interim WBO title shot, so it doesn't really count. But it's very tough. I think Eddie Hearn, the best promoter in Europe, or the biggest promoter in Europe rather, has the capability of getting him another world title, especially with the lightweight scene in the UK. But it's very difficult at the moment because all the other ones coming up, Crawler's doing well, Flanagan's doing fantastic. You know, so it is tough, I think, at the moment.
Absolutely. Jet, I must crack on. Before we let you go, just one final question. Anthony Joshua, who would you pick as his next opponent?
Anthony Joshua?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just reading the comment. I was just that last one. It's tough now because he's a pay-per-view star now with 50,000 pay-per-view buys, so it's going to be very tough. I'd be inclined to say it should be Duhaupas, the French dude, but I think Eddie Hearn now has a responsibility to put him in the top-level guys. So I think now it's going to be either, as he said, I don't think it will be a Jennings. Jennings has come off 2 back-to-back defeats.
Yeah.
Stiverne, a possibility, but I doubt Stiverne will come to the UK just because of, you know, promotional issues or whatever. Takam, he would definitely come here, but Takam is a solid top 10 operator. He could give him all sorts of problems. He was giving Povetkin a few sort of problems as well. So yeah, I think it'll possibly Chisora. It'll be Chisora or Takam, I'd say, one of the two. I wouldn't, or Duhaupas, but Duhaupas has got a fight in March, so it'd be a very quick turnaround for him. So yeah. One question as well, quickly. Would you go to the April 9th card? Because my cousin and me were planning to go to that card. It seems like a really big card. McDonald's on the card. you know, there's a lot of big fights on the card. So would you consider going to that card?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'll do my very best. What I'd like to do is I would like to see if I can get a press pass to the event and go and do like 3 or 4 days and do press conference, weigh-in, fight, you know, all of that stuff. But yeah, that'd be really good if I can. I'm going to wait to see who the opponent is first, because I think that's a more important thing, and then I'll try and take a few days off work and get myself down to London for a few days. But yes, mate, definitely we should have a bit of a catch up if we're both going to it. Definitely.
Yeah, it'd be great. My cousin's there, he's a massive boxing fan as well. He loves Anthony Joshua.
Nice one.
Yeah, so he's probably watching the show now. We always text each other saying our boxing gossip is why not? What's sharing or whatever. So.
I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, I'll get my brother along as well, because he's down in London at present. So yeah, no, it'd be really good, mate. Look forward to it, and yeah, I'm sure we'll speak between now and then anyway. But yeah, we'll get something organised. But no, cheers for that, Jet. Have a good one, and thanks for calling in as always, mate.
Thanks, man. I'll speak to you soon, and I'll be watching the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Catch up soon. Bye now. Bye.
Okay, take it. Bye.
Thanks very much to Jet for calling in. I think Jet is our first repeat customer in terms of calling in twice, which is always good. In terms of who I think Chisora makes the most sense from a pay-per-view basis, most recognisable name, domestic fighter. I also think I actually quite like this Chisora fight. I know I get a lot of stick for this. People keep saying AJ blows Chisora out in 1 round. But Chisora is durable as hell. You know, I know he doesn't quite have the punch resistance now he's a bit older, but Chisora is not an easy guy to knock out. And I think his style could be kryptonite for AJ. I really do. You know, Derek Chisora, when he's in condition and on form, is a horrible guy to fight. You know, when Chisora is up against your chest, ducking in low under your jab, throwing body shots, you know, he's a real nasty guy to fight. And I just think Joshua is very reliant on range, And if Chisora is the type of guy to take away his range, Joshua's in trouble. I'm just looking back at some of the comments. I'm not going to go back up to the top because it'd be too hard to cover them all. But if you left a comment previously, do write it again, and I'll come to it. YouTube says the White Rhino wants a piece of AJ. Yeah, Dave Allen, the White Rhino is facing Richard Towers. That's a good fight. That's on the Kelbrook on the card. That's a 50-50 matchup for me. Jamie Patterson, Chisora versus Nascimento was the worst fight I've watched in 2015. It was pretty terrible stuff. Having said that, I bet on Derek Chisora to win on points at 9-1. So for me, it holds fond memories. Ralph Moss, is it true that Chisora is suffering? Is it true Chisora suffers from glassing-induced anxiety? He can't even go to a restaurant and merely see a glass. I love it. YouTube says Derek better stay for Amir's glass chin then. Cheryl says Chisora is a safer bet than Jennings. Yeah, I agree. Jennings, don't be put off by the fact he lost twice. He's lost twice to 2 top 5 heavyweights. Jennings is probably the most dangerous operator out of that list Eddie Hearn mentioned. I think Stavelle's an easier fight than Jennings. Richard Fox says AJ versus Chisora is not pay-per-view worthy. Cyril agrees. I actually disagree. You know, that fight would be for the European title. And for me, the real definition of what is pay-per-view worthy is what are the public prepared to pay pay-per-view for? And the public would definitely be prepared to pay pay-per-view for that. Let's not forget, Joshua in a British title just sold best part of 500,000 pay-per-views. You know, there's all of these things about you need a world title for a pay-per-view. Clearly you don't. You know, clearly you don't. That was one of the most successful pay-per-views, and it was just off the back of a British title fight. What you need is a big name and a big drama. And Anthony Joshua has the big name. There isn't the drama as fat hats to this one as there was for the Dillian White fight. You know, for me, Chisora is the most sensible pay-per-view opponent out of the Hakas, Deverne, Jennings, you know, all those names that are being bandied around, Tony Thompson. Abstract Beats, closest to pay-per-view worthy that Anthony Joshua was ready for. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with that. Ryan Goodwin, Chisora has had it. Looks like he's not even hungry anymore. Yeah, well, that may be the case. That may be the case. But what I would say is Chisora only loses at the top level. You know, he doesn't tend to lose to the, you know, and he would be a big step up for, he would be a big step up for me for Anthony Joshua. He's performed at a much higher level than any of Anthony Joshua's previous opponents. Abstract Beats, before the beef, most would have said Dillian Whyte was not pay-per-view. Absolutely. Dillian Whyte really helped to make that fight. Jet says, great call again, Tom. Thanks for the 1 p.m. start. Great to call in before work. Catch up in person soon. Absolutely. And I'll keep trying to do these slightly earlier. Let's see if I can get one again for next Saturday. But thanks for calling in, Jet. Anyone else who's got me on Skype? I've just had 1 or 2 Skype invitations come through as I was on the phone to Jet. So please do call in. Keen to get some more callers. Jamie Patterson, I haven't forgot you. I'm just going to try and add you now on Skype. So let's see if I can add you. I think we've had some problem tracking each other down. So that could be why. All right. Jamie, I think I've sent you a contact request. Check your Skype. I might have sent it to another Jamie Patterson, so apologies if it doesn't come through. Dragon Ryder, I think Chisora is destined to become one of the richest gatekeepers in history, but is his heart really there to woo the pay in public? I think that's a good summary, actually. Let's not forget, Chisora does know how to hyper fight. He knows when to slap someone at the weigh-in or spit water at someone, or, you know. So we'll see if Chisora versus Anthony Joshua suddenly develops bad blood. You know, we've seen that happen with matchroom cards before. You know, Coyle and Campbell, lifelong friends, suddenly hating each other. Fielding and Smith, bad blood. You know, don't be surprised. Cheryl says, "How long are you on for?" I don't have a definite answer to that, I'm afraid, Cheryl. I'll keep rolling till my throat gives up or till people stop watching. My girlfriend's come down for the weekend, and to be honest, she wasn't best pleased when I announced that I was going to film this. So I may not be able to do a 2-hour spectacular, but you never know. Ryan Goodwin, great stuff, by the way. Glad to see the channel's growing. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Yeah, really. You know, I'm hoping to build things out in 2016, so I appreciate the support. Joseph Parker's next opponent in reality, Dimitrenko. You know, every time anyone asks me about an opponent, I say Dimitrenko, but tall, durable. Ustanov's got a big profile in New Zealand. Yeah, someone like that would be good for me. YouTube, I'd take Chisora over Charles Martin. Yeah, I could see Chisora beating Charles Martin. 50-50 fight for me. Jacob, I think David Haye is all wrong for Joshua. Totally agree. All wrong. Way too early for Joshua at this stage. Way too early. Right. I want to talk briefly about John Pascal and Kovalev. And I really want people's opinions on this. Now, I did do a video on this midweek. But I want to ask the question. You know, we've got about 40 people watching. 40 boxing fans watching. If you are one of those 40, please do click the thumbs up, help me spread this. But I rewatched the Kovalev fight, Kovalev Pascal, right? And it's important to note that Pascal has changed trainers from Roy Jones Jr. to Freddie Rhodes. And I think he really showed that he'd been listening to Roy Jones Jr. in his last fight. I thought he fought it outside, lots of movement, lots of head movement, come in, assault, ambush, you know, David Haye style. Clearly that wasn't successful. What we need now is Freddie Rhodes to come up with a new game plan and provide something different. Now, I thought about this long and hard. I could not think of a game plan that I would ask John Pascal to implement in order to beat Sergei Kovalev. I could not come up with a style to beat Sergei Kovalev using John Pascal's attributes. Bearing in mind, John Pascal is a shorter guy. He's not going to out-jab Kovalev, etc. So what I want to ask you, if you're watching, if you were training John Pascal, what advice do you give him? What tactic do you implement? Let me know. Let me know what you do, because I can't work it out. I'm going to keep scrolling through the comments, reading those out, but that's my question to you. I see this being, I think Pascal's going to have to throw caution to the wind. I think he's going to have to be more aggressive. He's going to have to throw down, and I think he's going to get knocked out earlier as a result. Jamie Patterson says, we are more important than Mrs. Gossip. Well, you certainly are, because I wouldn't be here otherwise. Jargon Ryder, I think David Haye is wrong for a lot of these young guns. Yes, totally agree. Cyril says Parker versus Ortiz. At present, Ortiz, Parker's still a baby. He's not had any of these big fights. Ortiz is a real tricky southpaw, can fight on the outside, fight on the inside, huge puncher. It would be too much of a step up for Parker at this stage. Far too much of a step up for Parker, given his lack of experience. And to be honest, the way he struggled with the southpaw last time out. YouTube, Haye could really damage AJ, i.e. Price Thompson. Spot on. I totally agree. I picked David Haye by knockout in that. Joshua's too upright, too stiff, too defensively frail, and too inexperienced to fight a guy like David Haye. It's not being critical of Joshua. He's just still a prospect. He needs more learning fights. Ryan, don't think Roach will be able to get anything more out of Pascal. Jamie's fearing Pascal's life. Jet says nothing Pascal could do. He loses every day on the week and tries on a Sunday. Ryan says box and move, but how do you box and move when you're, he moved a lot in ambush last time. He can't stand there and jab with Kovalev. Kovalev will jab his head off. Gaz says Pascal takes an arse kicking, in my opinion. Jet says Mrs. Gossip is watching this and not happy bunny. Yeah, I might have some making up to do. Bruce says, I would tell him to take a baseball bat to the ring. Roach is going to advise him to stick and move, that's for sure. Yeah, I was just watching Dwyer's video on this, right? And Dwyer is one of the biggest John Pascal fans out there. He rates John Pascal next level as an athlete. He rates John Pascal as a huge, huge puncher. And he's advising that at the odds, we should bet on John Pascal. He said Pascal was, I think, 9.5 to 1. Now, I've seen John Pascal at 20 to 1. And I can't bet on John Pascal even at 20 to 1. Because I think if this fight happens 20 times, Sergey Kovalev's win every time. I mean, unless Kovalev gets hit by lightning on the way to the ring or breaks his hand or gets horribly cut, how does John Pascal beat him? It's interesting. I've just thrown it out there. We've got 42 hardcore boxing fans watching this. Not one of us can find any reason to give Pascal the win. Not one of us can think of any tactic. And I cannot think of any tactic. I'm not saying Pascal fought the wrong fight last time. It's just there's no way he has the game to beat Kovalev. The only thing he's got to do is just charge forward and throw absolute bombs, and he'll probably get taken out. But you never know. You never know. Dragon Ryder says Roach is not going to advise him to stick and move. That's for sure. Yeah, Roach is aggressive trainer, isn't he? Abstract beats. Only way I see for him is to try and outpoint him. I'm not sure he's capable. No, I'm not sure he's capable at all. He's not. He's more of like an athletic ambush fighter than a sort of amateur technician. Jet says Pat Bradley, thoughts and intangibles and prediction. I need to think about that a bit more, obviously, in the build up to the fight. A lot depending on how both guys look, but my early instinct is Bradley. Bradley coming off a career best performance. Pacquiao coming off a career worst performance. Jacob, Pascal should go to war, let it all hang out. As Dwyer says, he's a murderous puncher. Richard says, do you subscribe to Box Nation? I do. YouTube says Kovalev may go looking for KO in round 1, go overboard, but John David Jackson will keep him focused. Yeah. There's obviously a lot of dislike there. Tivertap says get up in his chest, throw a headbutt, Hoderev misses it, and there's a cut. Tom O'Brien, why give Hughie Fury no place in the top 30 when he dominated Rudenko better than Brown? I would pick him to box the ears off White and Joshua. Good question. He missed out narrowly. I think he was in my honourable mentions section. I think Brown was 30th, or if he wasn't 30th, maybe it's like 28th, 29th, 30th, right at the bottom. The reason I edged to Brown over Hughie Fury is because whilst Hughie Fury did a better job over Rudenko, I thought Brown's other form, the likes of Richard Towers, for example, was slightly stronger than Hughie Fury's other form. But don't get me wrong, I'm a massive fan of Hughie Fury. He's definitely got the potential to be top 10. I really want to see him in the big fights, Tom. And He's 1 or 2 fights away from breaking into the top 30 for me. Just needs a slightly better opposition. I heard a rumour on Twitter today. His next fight will be against Adrian Granat, who's an unbeaten prospect from Sweden. Good fighter, knocked out Michael Sprott recently. He's not a top 30 fighter either, but yeah, a win like that would put him just about in the top 30. Dragon Ryder, the real question is, how does Adonis do against Kovalev? For me, Kovalev, easy. Adonis is easy to work out. Adonis has got poor punch resistance. Kovalev has got an iron chin. And Adonis is getting old as well, proper old. For me, the more interesting fight is Kovalev-Ward. Ryan, Dwyer thinks Pascal beat Frotz. Thoughts on that? I'd need to rewatch it. It's been too long, but no, for me, Frotz won that fight from memory. Jamie, Kovalev versus Pascal 2. It's the most pointless rematch in history. Can't disagree, to be honest. Jet, Bramer versus Ryder Alvarez, since we spoke about the South American. Tough fight. Bramer's a hard man to beat, real technical, real skilled, real chess player. I'd side with Alvarez, though. I think he's got a lot of youth and a lot of upside to him. YouTube, Hughie Fury better stay under the radar. 2017 will be his year. You know, Hughie's a young guy. He's like what I say about Joseph Parker. In the heavyweight division, he's still, sorry, he's still an absolute baby. There is no need to rush him. You're right. Gaz, any thoughts on Hughie's next opponent? Pete says it's top 10. It won't be one from my top 10, I don't think, unless they get in like a Stavern or a Jennings or a Takam, who are supposedly available as opponents. As I say, I think this Adrian Granat is supposed to be rumoured, so could look like him. That'd be a good fight. Granat looks like a decent fighter. He's a tall guy from Sweden, unbeaten, has a bit of a punch to him as well. So I'd watch that fight with interest, but Granat is certainly not a top 10 guy. Tivitap, why can't main events get a crosser fight with Bramer? I'll be honest, I'm not up to date on the politics there, Tivitap, so I don't know the answer to that. Jamie says, I had Pascal losing 7-3 to Comiskey Gonzalez. A lot of people did, mate. A lot of people did. I think I had that one very tight. I can't remember exactly my scorecard. Mark Jones, what do you think about Kovalev-Ward if it happens? Mark, we discussed that a lot earlier on. Too tight to call for me. Maybe a slight lean to Ward, just because I view Ward as almost invincible, but that is real too tough to call. Dominic Wade, YouTube says Dominic Wade is mandatory for IBF Triple G belt. So I hear. I haven't seen much of him. Jet 17 says Korobov, very good operator. He lost to Andy Lee as a pro. Daz says, I hope racist Kovalev takes a beating. Yeah, he's not the most likable guy, Kovalev, but he's a superb fighter. Team Groves is listening whilst in the gym. Good stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Hope I'm helping you power through your treadmill training or your weights or whatever it is you're doing. Jet says, no, it's Triano Johnson. Yeah, you're right, actually, Jet. You are right. It is Triano. I've heard something about Dominic Wade, though. There's something there. Ryan thinks Ward beats Kovalev. Dragon Ryder says, changing to heavyweight prospects. What do you think of the new small heavyweight prospect, George Arias, not the one who fought Hughie Fury? I've looked into George Arias. I've done a video on him, actually, Dragon Ryder. If you want to hear more thoughts, just type into your YouTube search bar, Boxing Gossip George Arias. I did a video looking into him. Very early on in his career, he's very green, very raw. I think he's been signed by Bob Arum, so clearly he's a fighter who people are looking at. Fights a bit like Tyson, doesn't he? Very small, gets low, peekaboo, lots of hooks, lots of power. For me, in this modern era of giant heavyweights, he's going to have to turn into a very, 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 very special fighter in order to have success, though. I think that's the concern. You know, we've got absolute giants out there. Abstract Beats, thoughts on the ratings, AJ virtually at mandatory. Yeah, it's crazy. They just want him to be the champion because of the sanctioning fees, don't they? Cyril says, I'm not blown away by Hughie. A lot of people say he's better than Tyson. I can't see it. Hughie is a superb technician. You know, how many times have we even seen him lose a round in the ring? You know, I think that's for the pure boxing. Hughie is right up there. Craig says Triano Johnson pulled out injured. I think that's right, actually. And Jet says Dominic Wade lost to ancient Sam Solomon, no chance against Triple G. Again, probably spot on. Richard Fox, what do you think about Haye selling tickets without naming an opponent? Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Richard? It's the David Haye show. People go to watch David Haye. They're not interested in the opponent. These aren't the hardcore boxing fans necessarily. These are the sports fans who love David Haye. He's got that crossover appeal on a whole new level. Look at the success he had against Demori. No one had heard of Demori. I personally wouldn't buy a ticket without knowing an opponent. The other thing to factor in is Haye's self-promoted, isn't he? So he can't probably spend out a huge money on opponents. Daz says, what about Dave Allen, Richard Towers? Real tough fight, real tough fight. Big step up for Dave Allen. Richard Towers, for me, a bit glassy around the jaw. If Dave can get inside, take out his jab, close the distance, take his range away from him, he's got a chance of knocking him out. Richard Towers, to me, probably the taller guy, possibly the better jab, more experienced, real 50-50. Initial instinct is Dave Allen by knockout. I just think Richard Towers is very vulnerable around the jaw, but I need to think about that more. Matthew Dorby, what bets do you have on for tonight, Tom? I haven't actually placed any bets for tonight. I haven't placed any bets, but if I am to have a bet, it'll be Comiskey, I think. Gaz says Arias is too small. Yeah, possibly. You need to be Mike Tyson level of skill and power and force to get by in the heavyweight division. Ryan, thoughts on Huey versus AJ? Could it happen? I think it'd be a better fight than Chisora. No, it won't happen. The Furies are too, they're not playing to anyone else's song sheet here. They've got their own path. They're not interested in being the opponent. They want to build Huey Fury up in the right way. He's got a lot more learning to do, and it's too early for that fight. It can be a massive fight one day. YouTube, Derry Matthews is stating that Flanagan's feigning injury to postpone the bout. Yeah, Derry Matthews had a very bad run with pullouts, wasn't he? He's obviously getting frustrated, and I do have to feel bad for him. Jet says Laura versus Andrade. Thoughts? I'm a huge fan of Andrade. Huge fan. Laura's a massive step up. Jamie says it's the best fight at 154, and he favours Andrade. I agree. I favour Andrade. I think he might be more offensively capable. Kamal, is Liam Smith going to take on one of the Lions at junior middleweight, Laura, Andrade, Charlo, or is Frank Warren going to keep their belt hostage? I don't think he's going to take on Laura, Andrade, Charlo. Those aren't sensible fights, risk reward. They're not huge names to the casual fan. They're not huge pay-per-view stars. They're not huge ticket sellers. They're very risky. All three of those guys could beat Liam Smith with a bit in hand, potentially. For me, I think they're looking more at the Canelo Cotto fights, the huge payouts. Obviously, the risk of getting beaten is still there. But at the same time, you don't risk getting embarrassed. Kamal says, is the winner of Frampton Quick going to man up and face Rigo, or is he going to drop the IBF like a hot potato and move up? He's going to drop the IBF like a hot potato and move up. Both of them are already saying they're big at the weight. Jamie saying that his comments are excellent. Chet is agreeing. Richard Fox, prediction on Haye's next opponent. Malik Scott, says Ryan. I was going to say Malik Scott, Ryan. I think that's the most likely. I keep bringing up him as an opponent. I think David Haye could use a tall opponent. He's not looked the best against tall opponents for me. A Dimitrenko, a Ustinov, someone like that. Maybe even a Hellenius would be a good fight. Jet 17. Quigg, Frampton, IBF mandatory, single weight. Winner has to face it within 90 days. Do they drop the belt with Rigo mandated for the WBA belt as well? Yeah, as I say, I think they might move up in weight. Or I think the fight becomes so big that they do a rematch and don't really worry about the belts. Ryan likes Malik Scott for David Haye's next fight. I like Malik Scott. He's a very eye-catching, pleasing boxer. I think the problem with Malik Scott is he's got zero punch resistance. Dropped heavily by Tony Thompson, Derek Chisora. What's David Haye going to do to his chin? Liam Smith, YouTube says Liam Smith's next opponent will be Bob Smith, John Brown, and Terry Thompson. Dear. I've got a message on Skype. It's from Kamal. He sent me the same message on the YouTube comment. Sorry, I didn't get to that in time, Kamal. I've hopefully answered those questions in the YouTube video. Let's get another Skype caller on now. I've been rolling now for over an hour. Let's try and get someone else on. Jamie Patterson. Let's see if can you check your Skype and see if I sent it to the right, Jamie Patterson. Someone else on my Skype, if there's anyone else on, please do give me a call. Let's make this more interesting. Try and get one more caller on. If you're watching this and you're not on my Skype, please add me, boxing.gossip. Very simple. Add me on Skype. We'll get you on straight away. In the meantime, I'm going to continue with the chat, but if you are thinking of calling in, just call in and we'll get you straight on. Jet says Postal versus Crawford. Crawford for me, that's next level at present. Kamal's asking about Trout's lawsuit. The truth is, I don't actually know. I don't know the detail on that one, I'm afraid, Kamal. Ryan says Haye will start Malik Scott. I agree. Be a 1 round, 2 round, 3 round job. Malik Scott just won't live with that power, I'm afraid. Gaz says he sees something on YouTube about Wilder possibly dropping the WBC, swerving Povetkin and taking the IBF Martin fight. I've seen rumour of that as well. I haven't made a video on it because at present it is pure rumour. But, you know, part of me finds it hard to believe. Part of me finds it quite believable. You know, real interesting stuff. That would set up Wilder Joshua for the new year, wouldn't it? You know, because Joshua will probably be IBF mandatory. Richard said, would you buy tickets for Haye versus Scott? No, in a word. Because what the problem with David Haye being self-promoted is there's no notable undercard. So if the opponents are weak, yeah, you go along, you watch a crap undercard, and then the fight lasts 1 round. Jamie Patterson says, I'm afraid it's the wrong Jamie Patterson. We're not having much luck here, Jamie, are we? I don't know what's going wrong with it. YouTube Piano versus McDonald likely in the USA. McDonald becoming a solid guy with a top resume. Yeah. And he's hopefully earning some real big money for himself as well. Jet 17, who's your promoter in the year for 2015? You know what? I watched a lot of these videos done by other YouTube channels, right? I watched Ultra Tech Sports one. I'm a big fan of Ultra Tech Sports channel. I am a bit of a mate with him, but taking that aside, he does produce some very entertaining boxing content and very well informed. He's knowledgeable as well. And I also watched Wiggy, obviously. Wiggy gave me one of his Kebab Awards, which is probably the biggest honour this time around since I started the channel. I watched Box Talk, Ryan and Haye, very good channel as well. I watched all of those guys. I'm trying to think if I watched Promoter of the Year, and a lot of them, you know, tied between Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. I think Promoter of the Year actually deserves to go to Mick Hennessy. The Tyson Fury story is obvious. I'm not going to talk about the Tyson Fury story because everyone knows about that. It's not new. It's not interesting. You know, it is interesting, I mean, but it's not new. But look at the other things he did. He won the purse bid for Nick Blackwell, Chris Eubank Jr. You know, that's great. He outbid Warren and he outbid Hearn for that. Lenny Dawes, home advantage. You know, Mick Hennessy deserves a real mention for that. Kamal says he's doubtful Deontay's team want to fight, and Povetkin has actually delayed the fight twice. Ryan Goodwin, Haye co-promotes with the O2, so he's half promoted by Haymaker, half promoted by O2. Jamie Patterson, WBC refused unification, so Wilder's looking at Martin before Povetkin. Wouldn't surprise me if it happens. Kamal says, ironic that Oscar's pursuing the WBO title holder now that it's Liam Smith. Yeah. I don't know though. Let's see if Canelo gets himself down to 154. You know, that's the big question for me. He's been fighting above 154. Jet says he's heard Andrade is going after the WBC. Man, Andrade just needs to get back in the ring, doesn't he? Jagan Ryder says Ultra Tech Sport has a colourful palette of expletives. That's a lovely way of putting it, isn't it? Yeah, I had him on the show last week, actually. He called in, and yeah, people found his swearing quite entertaining, but yeah, he's a great guy. YouTube, did Kelly Maloney soft Gary Cornish, or did Gary Cornish soft Kelly Maloney? I think Gary Cornish softed Kelly Maloney, actually. You know, he did that press conference and then didn't work with Mrs. Maloney again afterwards, did he? Gaz, it wouldn't surprise me if Wilder did swerve Povetkin and drop the belt. Povetkin will be the best fight he's faced by a mile. I agree. I think Povetkin beats him at this stage. Kamal, chances we see a big DeGale versus Badou Jack unification on the greatness that is PBC by the end of the year. Logical fight for both men. Yeah, for me, DeGale wins that fight nicely, though. But yeah, big fight. Cyril, Haye beats Wilder, I think. Yes, at this stage, Haye beats Wilder. You know, Wilder has no head movement. He backs up in a straight line. He doesn't even guard properly. Very easy guy to hit. very easy guy to hit, Deontay Wilder. Wilder's got a puncher's chance in any fight, but for me, David Haye finds the gap, sparks him out. Jet, views on the Fagan boots lost to DeGale for the WBA regular title. You know, sometimes a prospect gets so much hype, they get pushed too soon. You know, Vincent Fagan boots, I don't know how old he is, but I think he's still a boy, isn't he? I don't know if he's a teenager or something still. Too much too soon. Too much too soon is my view. Wilder says Kamal says Wilder has a WBC tattoo on his leg. He's not dropping that belt. Yeah, Jacob says, what did you make of Golovkin in East London? Who's the best opponent? DeGale, Eubank, or Saunders? Look, it's not going to be DeGale. DeGale's our Heyman fighter fighting out in America at a different weight class. Saunders is clearly the best opponent. I doubt it will happen. I think Saunders will fight Eubank. I think that's the logical fight for both. Winnable fight for both men. Big money for both men. Less risk than Triple G. Jet says he loves when you say Wilder's dodgeball accent versus Spilker. Well, I'll do it again just for you, Jet. But I can't believe it. Literally, the guy was he was like dodging a Spilker punch, and to exacerbate the fact he was dodging it, he would jump straight back like this. You know, all Spilker needed to do was jab, jab, or jab overhand, like, and he had taken his head off. You know, a guy like that, you know, it makes me angry even talking about it. YouTube, was Coogan bullshitting when he said to McGuigan that a top welterweight was interested in coaching him? I haven't seen that actually, so I'm afraid I don't know the context there. You put it this way, a bit of news. I did say this at the start of the video, but nobody was watching then. I've got someone who I consider to be a top 20 welterweight who is hopefully coming on this channel next week to do a bit of a chat with me, and that'll be big for the channel if I can get him on. So yeah, that's a bit of breaking news for you. Hopefully we've got a top 20 welterweight and also a top boxing commentator coming on next week. So yeah, we're getting things moving here. Jet finds the dodgeball thing hilarious. It is hilarious, totally. Ryan Goodwin, I can't see Frank letting Saunders fight Triple G, risking the belt. Frank will want to milk it, and he's right to. Tivatap, Triple G versus Andy Lee. That's not a bad shout. That is not a bad shout. Yeah. Jet 17, best UK trainer. Wow. Ingle. Jamie says, I'm losing the plot. Yeah, I am. Kamal, does Khan exercise mandatory against Garcia or go for the big money against Brook? He's got to go for Kell Brook. He's got to go for Kell Brook. It's a career-defining fight. Look at Froch Groves. Look at Froch's resume compared to Groves. Yeah, Froch is still going to be remembered for that fight. It's the biggest money fight. It's the biggest publicity fight. It's the biggest profile fight. Gaz says, Wilder's WBC tattoo is so he can have a reminder of what he once had after Povetkin takes it. YouTube, Jim Watt, yes. It'd be good if I could get Jim Watt on, wouldn't it? That would get me a few views, wouldn't it? Kamal, Triple G versus Lee is a pointless fight. Only reason it was worthwhile was because Lee had the WBO. I don't disagree, but Triple G cannot get an opponent for love nor money at present. He really can't get an opponent. And at least Andy Lee has a big profile, you know, big profile, big name. Jet says, Jim Watt is terrible. Paul Dempsey much better. Never understand why Sky got rid of him. Yeah, Paul Dempsey brought back a lot of memories, didn't he, when he did that David Haye fight recently. Anyway, guys, I've been running for an hour 15 now. I'm beginning to think it is time for me to call it a day. My throat is playing up. I need to get myself a nice cup of coffee or something. I'll take one more caller if anyone calls in the next minute or two, just because it would be nice to get someone on. But yeah, otherwise we will call it a day, and I'll try and get something rolling next week and keep these weekly shows going. If you've enjoyed the show, please do click the thumbs up button. Help support the channel. If you're someone watching who isn't already subscribing, please do hit the subscribe button, join in so you don't miss out on the future videos. I'll quickly do a roundup of the final comments that just come through, and then we'll call it a day. Basically, think I've had my time this afternoon. Better go back to pleasing the Mrs. Gossip. Sorry, that sounded really dodgy, didn't it? I better go back and spend some time with her. Richard Fox, any plans on visiting the RLE exhibition at the O2? Apparently, Box Nations subscribers get 20% off. Didn't know that actually, Richard Fox. That might be an interesting one for me to look into. Actually, I'll have a Google on that. Sky once had Dempsey and Dark. Those were the days, says Jamie. Kamal, Laura's been calling out Laura for over 2 years. I presume you mean Andrade. Jet says these shows are amazing. Oh, thank you, Jet. That's very charitable indeed. Kamal says Povetkin's no world beater. Yeah, I agree. Povetkin isn't a world beater, actually. But one thing he does have is big punching power. Wilder's too open. Tim Nick, Wilder still beats the hype Fury. I believe that when I see it. Jacob says in the minority, but Eubank gives Golovkin a good fight. Possibly. I think he gets hit too often. Jet says keep going at the same time at 1 PM if possible, and let's keep the calls rolling. Yeah, thanks for calling in, Jet. Yeah, I need to check what's going on next week. I'm actually training for a half marathon at present. I've got a half marathon at the end of February, and I know I've put myself in for like some sort of training 10K runs, and I need to look at exactly what time it is. So next week, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if I'll be back in time. I don't know if we'll have to go later. I don't know if we'll have to do it on Sunday, but I may have a 10K next Saturday morning, which may mean I won't be back in time to do this because it's a long way away. But yeah, I'll work it out and I'll put it out on my Facebook, on my Twitter, and I'll obviously put the show up here. So yeah, those are the ways of finding out when the shows are. You can follow me on Facebook. There's a link in the description, I think. Let me just double check that. No, there actually isn't a link to the description. But if you look at any of my normal videos, not the live shows, there's a link to my Facebook. You can add me as a friend there. My Twitter is just @BoxingGossip. And finally, if you do subscribe to the channel, you can see when these shows are scheduled. You know, it'll send you a reminder. So please check in. Troy says, good show. Really enjoyed these. Thanks, Troy. Craig says, Kamal meant Laura's been calling out Triple G. Yeah, sorry, that makes sense. Jacob says, good show. Thanks, Jacob. And YouTube says, is Trotz doing front row commentary tonight? Yeah, Trotz and Groves. There's going to be some good bands there, I think. Guys, I'll call it a day. It's the same. We only got one caller on next time. If you are watching, please do have me on Skype. Be nice to get 2, 3, 4 callers on. You know, let's make it more interactive going forward. I like to think that's more entertaining viewing than just watching me. So yeah, let's try and build it out. I want to keep these things going, get these things rolling more regularly. Yeah, look forward to doing one next week. Please keep tuned to all the videos during the weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope everyone has a good weekend. I hope everyone enjoys the fights tonight. And yeah, I'll obviously try and do some videos to cover the fights tonight and get some post-fight reactions up. Thanks to everyone for watching. Have a good weekend.